I still believe all you need is love, you know, but I don't believe that just saying it is going to do it, you know. I mean, I still believe in the fact that love is what we all need.
Love is all you need. Love is all you need. Love is all you need. Love is all you need. Love is all you need. Love is all you need. Love is all you need. Love is all you need. Love is all you need.
Welcome back to Connection Point Studies. We're in week 4 of All We Need Is Love, listening to Beatles music and talking about the Bible. It's good stuff. Hey, we have some new people that are still in this study. Have you thought about a new or another piece of advice you'd give a new group that's maybe 4 weeks into it? What piece of advice would you give them?
Well, I think something that I've learned from our own small group is that it's a lot of fun and you really get to know each other when you meet socially and you do something kind of even oftentimes impromptu. I give credit not for anything that I've done with our group, but really from what the other members have done. And they'll send out a text and say, hey, we're going to get together and we have kids and have the bouncy house in the backyard. Who wants to come over?
That's a great idea.
And very impromptu, that just happens. And people show up and some people don't because they can't make it, but it's fun.
I was even thinking, sit together as a group in church. Heckle the pastor or whatever you want to do, you know, be kind of fun.
Am I preaching soon? Wait a sec.
Anyway, those are just good ideas. We hope that you're enjoying this. We hope that you will really follow through. There's 2 questions that everybody in the group needs to answer. The first question is this warm-up question, and this is really where you reveal a little bit about yourself. We have something for them today to learn about their childhood. So,
about their childhood, yes.
Go ahead and give that to them.
Yeah, I guess you can tell I've been dealing with my kids lately. As we say, who were you as a child? What were you most often told to do? And describe those choice words from mom and dad.
Yeah, what was it they most often said to you? That's good. And before you come back, we actually want you to read the rest of chapter 3, verses 11 through the end of the chapter. 1 John chapter 3, verses 11 through the end of the chapter. I encourage you to do that. Okay, Alex, we've had him read the entire chapter, but before we do that, just what did your mom most often say to you?
Now, why do you think my mom would be, not my dad?
I have a feeling
you've met
your mom
both my
was the
parents,
one.
yes. So, well, I'm not sure if she's watching. If she was, she would even say this is probably accurate. But it was at the dinner table. My mom, she was raised in a very old-fashioned home, and no condiments or anything were ever allowed on the dinner table. You wanted milk, it was in a pitcher. Jam, it was in a bowl. Ketchup in a bowl.
Wow.
But with that went no elbows on the table. And it was a fork or a knife in the elbow if my elbow was on the table. So.
We were good if we didn't burp at the table. I suppose you weren't allowed that at all.
Not a chance. There was a sheep shed out back. You could go do that in.
All right. So we've picked some verses out of this chapter, which I think are, what we've done is selected different verses. And you may not want to do the verses we select, but we've used them as a format for us to help you talk about this. You talk about it on your own if there's verses that stand out. But let's share the verses we picked.
Well, the first verse we want you to look at is verse 12. So first, let's reread that verse. And when you come back, we're going to ask the question is, what was Cain's problem, and why must we not be like him?
Okay, Cain's problem is he's a murderer, right? I assume that's but it's deeper than that, isn't it? Really?
Well, obviously he had a few faults, a few character flaws that he had, but really, he wasn't willing to give God his best. When you look at what he did, it was.
Well, you can even help. Some people may not understand why Cain and Abel, the difference there. Abel was bringing a blood sacrifice. Cain would bring a grain sacrifice, which meant that Abel was coming saying, hey, I've got some sin in my life that I need to deal with, and Cain was not willing to admit his sin.
We often think that if we act in a certain way, Dan, that we can fool God, that he won't see our trueness. And this shows, here he was coming in and giving a sacrifice, but it wasn't his best sacrifice.
Can't pretend, can we?
No, not at all.
We have to be genuine. And that's what really small groups are about, is helping people become genuine. Now, we want them to look at another verse, verse 14, and dig in a little deeper.
Right, verse 14, and how does love bring life? And we are dead if we do not love. So are we dead, though, if we do not love?
I want to read this verse because I think it's really critical. If we love our Christian brothers, sisters, and sisters, it proves that we pass from death to life. But a person who has no love is still dead. I mean, you asked that question. I don't know how people answered that, but that's kind of harsh, isn't it? That if we don't have love in our life, we're dead. And it's reality, though.
Well, yeah, I mean, but I guess I have a vision in my head of somebody who doesn't love, right? It's that cold-hearted person. It's the person who has no sympathy for others, and I wonder what if I mean it's hard to tell exactly.
That's a good point.
But what exactly is the scripture trying to say with that? And I know we can get really deep in terms of interpretations and things like that. But what is that? Because I'm sure we all have met somebody who you're like, wow, that person's cold-hearted. And then the flip side though is the person that you see and you're like, wow, they've got something. Like, look at that. And it's a big drastic thing, but I think that's what he's talking about being dead and about being alive.
Yeah. And I think what happens is when we're dead, it's all about us. It's all about me. It's all about what I think. And it feels dead. But when you're alive, it's all about the people around you, and you're bringing yourself to life by helping so many others around us. It's awesome. Good stuff. Now we have another question for him to focus on.
Yeah, so let's go ahead and take a look at verse 16. So let's reread that verse. And the question there is, what is real love?
Okay, this should be easy, right? Real love is...
Well, I mean, I think real love really is what Jesus has done for us. I mean, if you look at the verse, I mean, this is one of those ones where you can say, well, that's right here in the verse. And it really is, though. I mean, he sacrificed his life for us, knowing how many flaws we had, even there when he was walking with his disciples and how they would act, right? Yeah. Knowing what the future had for it. So
this is kind of goes back to that depth thing. Someone that has deep love has done great things. I mean, Jesus did an amazing thing for us for what he did, which is powerful. Let's look at the next question that we have for them.
All right, so we want to take a look at verses 21 and 22. And what does guilt have to do with coming to God?
So in verse 21, it says, if we don't feel guilt, we come to God with bold confidence. I find that when I have guilt in my life, I don't act or I don't live my life with the kind of God confidence that I should have in life. That as I have sin in my life and stuff in my life that's unconfessed, it can hinder my life. So keeping my life clean and keeping my slate clean and free from guilt is really critical, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, I think oftentimes we can even have that in other areas of our lives as well. When we know that we've been doing well, those good actions can compound on itself, right? Mm-hmm. And you then gain confidence in things. And as a dad, I see that in my kids as they do well. And I think even that God can see that in us. And that's the confidence he's looking for us.
And I want to make this clear. It's not confidence in my ability. It's really confidence in God working in me. The more I open myself up to him and his power, he changes me. I don't change me. It's only God that can change me.
Right. And you know what else is we often talk about letting go of the reins, maybe the steering wheel of the bus. And when we have the confidence that we can truly do that and we're willing to do it, right? We're actually willing to do it.
Really good stuff. Well, hopefully these questions have been really good, and we want you to close out your study by an application question, which is for everyone to answer. And as you do that, you reveal again a little about yourself to each other, and you have a chance to know how to pray for each other. So let's give them that question.
All right, the question is what is a new way you can give love?
So you think about that question, and everyone answer that in your group, and then pray together, and we'll see you next week at Connection Point Studies.